And folks, you hear me, folks? Folks, are you out there, folks? Folks, we got even more proof how much of a fucking retard Christopher Mitchell is. He has no clue what he's talking about, and anybody that listens to him will go broke, just like Rick Lee, just like many others have.
In the game of blackjack, if you bust, you lose, even if it turns out that the dealer had an awful hand and they would have busted too. So what if you use a strategy where you never hit a hand that could bust? Is that the magic secret to being the game of blackjack? I'm Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and we've trained more successful card counters than anyone. And in this video, I'm gonna explain the math behind the no bust blackjack strategy. Hey, I'm Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship. I'm here with my good friend David, aka Loud and Often. And David, you know the feeling when you have an awful hand. And so what do you do here?
I'm terrified. I want to take a hit, but I don't want to bust.
Okay, so let's say you take a hit, but then you bust, you lose your $10, and then the dealer shows that they had a terrible hand. If you would have stayed, the dealer would have busted, and you'd be $20 richer than busting and losing that $10. What if you just never hit a hand that can bust? And we've been training blackjack players for a long time. We do these things called blackjack boot camps that we hold in Vegas. And I remember a guy coming to me, it was on day 2 of the boot camp. So day 1, we're explaining the fundamentals of beating blackjack. Day 2, he says, Colin, I watched this guy play and he just couldn't lose. He was winning. And so I asked him, what are you doing to win so much? He says, well, if I have a hand that could bust, I just never hit that hand. I let the dealer bust. And he says, Colin, is it that simple? Well, is it that simple?
No.
Unfortunately, no. Here's the problem. If the dealer is showing a 7 or higher, then the average hand that they're gonna make is actually an 18.4. If you stay on 12 through 16, if you stay on one of these hands that you say, well, I don't want to bust, I want to let them bust, you're actually setting yourself up to lose much more often than if you were to take the risk of hitting your hand. So why don't people want to hit 12 through 16?
They don't want to bust.
Like psychologically, it's more painful to feel like you were a part of you losing your hand than to just be the innocent bystander of the dealer beating you. But the math is astonishing. If you follow this no bust strategy, it gives the casino about a 4% edge over you as a player. If you follow basic strategy, which says to hit 12 through 16 against the dealers, 7 or higher, then you're gonna have about a 0.5% disadvantage. So that means that you're gonna lose 8 times more money by following the no bust strategy than by following proper basic strategy. Think of it this way. If you follow basic strategy at blackjack and betting $25 a hand, at the end of an hour, your expected loss, as far as the math of the game, is you're gonna lose about $12 or $13 per hour just betting $25 and following the basic strategy chart. If you say, well, I don't wanna bust, so I'm gonna follow this no bust strategy, you're gonna expect to lose about $100 per hour. So $12, $13 an hour of negative expectation, or $100 an hour of negative expectation. I don't know about you, but I don't want to lose 8 times more to the casino.
No.
Even though it hurts in your heart to hit this hand and bust. What do you got to do?
It's the right decision.
So how do you know it's the right decision?
Because you know that more cards will help you than hurt you over time.
And is there somewhere you can learn this proper decision for every hand?
Well, you start with basic strategy.
So what's this basic strategy, David?
Hands like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 are going to hit against the dealer's face card.
Yeah, so basic strategy is a chart. You can download it from our website for free, and mathematical simulations were run to show the proper way to play every hand of blackjack. The mathematically proper. That doesn't mean you're going to win every time you hit a 13 against a dealer's 10, but it gives you the best odds over the long haul. And the problem is some of these hands, they're a losing hand. What that means is you're gonna lose, it's negative expectation, whether you hit or stand, but you're gonna lose more money if you follow this no bust strategy than if you follow
basic strategy.
Basic strategy.
Basic strategy isn't just enough to get you over the edge. It's enough to lose less, but there's more.
That's right. If you want to actually beat the game of blackjack, you need more than basic strategy. You definitely need more than the no-bust strategy. So take the time, if you want to beat the casinos, to learn card counting, to legally gain the edge, which is what we've done for millions of dollars and what we've trained hundreds of other people to do. If you just want to enjoy our videos, subscribe below and you can get card counting tips and updates and stories and learn how to beat the casinos.
As if losing $100 per hour playing $25 on his no-bust strategy. Then you got this where he says, don't split or double down. Are you fucking serious, you fucking retard? And he's giving this advice to people that still believe his bullshit. That is a negative about $170 you lose an hour compared to the 12 to 13 basic strategy. Holy shit, this guy needs to be off YouTube ASAP. Report his channel. Scam, fraud, bullshit. Watch the video, my video that teaches you how. Again, it's scam. It's 100% retarded scam bullshit. And people are going to lose a ton of money if they listen to this retard, midget, gay porn bitch. One-on-one 50% profit coaching and his $500 paid memberships, his two new scams. All right, hoping to again wake up the very few retarded sons of bitches out there that still believe him. He's the Pied Piper of retards. Hopefully they see the light one day, but before they do, here's where I grabbed this from the Looking Glass YouTube channel, and here's where math trumps bullshit scams. Again, math, here's where it shows perfect math trumping bullshit scams. Now I know as retarded believers won't be able to add, can't even add 2 plus 2, but again, math speaks for everything. Casinos are built every year because the math favors them, just like the math favors the martingale system is not only a losing system, but an entire bankroll losing system. So pay attention.
Last video I talked about a strategy of betting called the martingale system. It's a strategy where you always chase the total amount you've lost so far by betting that total amount plus 2, so that when you eventually do win, you will win 2 guaranteed. A lot of you saw the flaw in this system was that the amount of money you'd need to sustain it would be infinite. The issue is that even if you have a really huge amount of money, as long as it's finite, the expectation value from playing this game is 0. That's because with a very small chance, you'd run out of money to keep betting and you'd lose a lot. I didn't believe this until I did the calculation, because it just seemed so unlikely to even lose that many times in a row that you didn't really need to worry about getting to the stage where you'd be betting big, so you didn't have to worry about folding. But let's do the calculation and see what happens. Everyone has some number of losses that would mean they've lost enough money that they wouldn't be able to pay the amount that they need for the next round, and so they would have to give up. Let's call this number of losses for a particular person n. N can be very high or very low, it doesn't matter. The person only has a 1 in 2 to the n chance of losing this maximum n times in a row, and if they don't lose, then they win 2. And that's most of the time with a probability of 1 minus 1 over 2 to the n. But in the unlikely event that they do lose, their total loss is this sum of losses so far, which we know is 2 to the n plus 1 minus 2. So we put all of this together in the expectation value formula. The probability of not folding times the gain plus the probability of folding times the loss. And it magically works out to 0. The way to explain this is that when you play this strategy, with a good probability you win a modest gain, but with a small probability you will make a disastrous fall, and it averages out to 0 in expectation. The higher your value of n, the less likely you'll lose when you play this game. As n approaches infinity, the chance you can fail goes to 0. In the version where a person can always afford to gamble more, they will always make 2. As a lot of you pointed out, the casino also has a maximum bet for this very reason, so everyone has to stop playing eventually. So this strategy clearly doesn't work. If you play it lots of times, you'll end up with 0 on average. But what if you only played it a few times? And what if you capped your maximum bet at a very reasonable price, so that you wouldn't mind too much if you did lose, even though it does mean you'll lose more often? Let's try an example. Say you set your maximum times of losing at 4. The probability of losing any one round then is just 1 in 16. So you'd think you'd be pretty safe if you only played a small number of rounds compared to 16, for example 4. But the thing is, you'd lose money unless you won every single one of those rounds. But the probability of that is only around 77%. Nowhere near a guarantee, especially considering how much you stand to lose. Plus the amount that you can win is just 8. In my opinion, you'd be way better off getting a job. That solves the paradox entirely for the real world as far as I'm concerned. But there's still a paradox in my opinion, mathematically. Let's look at the game where the person playing never runs out of money. You might say, well, that would require them to have an infinite amount of money already. Not really, since each time they play, they only bet a finite amount, and they can always borrow money to play because they're guaranteed to make it back. And you might say, well, there isn't even an infinite amount of money in the world for them that they could borrow. Sure, but maths doesn't care what sort of world we're in. We could have been in a universe with different physics that allowed the universe to be infinite, and the maths would be the same. So this is the paradox for me, mathematically. This random red or black game should have expectation 0. You just feel like that must be true. There's no way on average to make money from a game of complete chance. But what's the expectation of the martingale? Well, it's 2. You will always win 2. Or using the mathematical formula, we can see the same thing. In fact, I can make this number anything I want. For example, I can bet 50 more than my total losses each time, then the expectation is 50. But I can make it worse again by using this strategy. Say you've lost a few times so far, and it's the nth round. Then bet all that you've lost so far, plus 2 to the power of n. Look at that expectation value. It's infinite. So the real paradox for me is that you can somehow take a game that you think should have expectation 0, and then actually make the expectation whatever you want, including infinity. And yet when you restrict to realistic cases, you always get 0. This paradox showed me that my intuition about expectation values is wrong. There are situations where it breaks down badly. That's why I really like paradoxes. If the mathematics is sound, it means that the unsound thing is something in your own way of reasoning. It forces you to acknowledge that.